It's a question a lot of us have wrestled with, right? Is the Bible one big, unified story, or is it more like a library of separate books? I mean, the journey through its pages can feel a little disjointed. One moment you're in
A perfect garden, right at the dawn of time. You've got humanity walking with God, acting as his royal representatives. It's beautiful. But then you turn the page, and the whole scene just changes dramatically.
And now you're in a harsh, unforgiving desert? You're witnessing this miraculous rescue of an entire nation from slavery, and then God gives them his law? It's such a stark contrast. And then you jump way ahead in the story and find yourself
at the foot of a cross. And this is the shocking, absolutely pivotal center of the whole story, a crucified Messiah. And just when you think you've kind of got a handle on the narrative, it takes one final, breathtaking turn, with this epic vision of a new heaven and a new earth. So you go from a garden to a desert to a cross, and then finally to a whole new creation. It's really no wonder we sometimes struggle to see how it all connects.
But here's the thing. Piecing this story together isn't just some academic exercise. The stakes are incredibly high. How we understand the big picture, the grand narrative, directly impacts how we read and apply every single verse.
This is a perfect example of the danger of a fragmented reading. Take Philippians 4:13. I can do all this. So many people see that as a promise for personal success, for winning the big game or getting a promotion. But you've got to remember where the Apostle Paul was when he wrote this. He was in a prison cell. He wasn't talking about winning games. He was talking about finding contentment and strength through hardship. See? When we pull a verse out of the main story, we can completely twist its meaning.
And these misreadings, they have real-world consequences. If you focus only on God's promises but forget the context of his kingdom, you can end up with a prosperity gospel that's all about me, me, me. If you emphasize the law but you miss the whole point of God's grace, you get legalism and works righteousness. An escapist eschatology that's just about getting out of this world can make us forget our job to care for it. The center we choose for the biblical story literally shapes our ethics, our mission, and our entire lives.
Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we overcome this fragmentation? Well, there's actually a specific discipline that helps us read the Bible as the unified story it was always meant to be. It's called
biblical theology. It's all about tracing God's unfolding story from Genesis all the way to Revelation, understanding each part in light of the whole. Think of it this way. Systematic theology is kind of like taking a topic, say love, and finding all the verses about it. But biblical theology is like reading the entire novel to understand how the theme of love develops and grows and climaxes throughout the whole story.
And here's a really powerful framework to help us see that big picture. The sixth-act drama. It all kicks off with Act 1, creation, a good world made by a good God. Then comes the tragedy of Act 2, the fall, where humanity rebels and everything gets fractured. But God doesn't give up. In Act 3, Israel, he launches his incredible rescue plan. The story hits its absolute climax in Act 4, Christ. Then in Act 5, the church. That mission goes global. And it all leads to the grand finale in Act 6, the new creation. Every book, every story, every person in the Bible finds its place inside this amazing drama.
Now, this whole quest for the Bible's unifying heart, it has a long and fascinating history. In German scholarship, they call it the search for the Mitte, which just means the center. What is the one central theme that holds this entire library together?
And, it's a real debate with really smart people on both sides. The scholar Gerhard Hassel, for example, makes a great point. He argues that the Bible is just so theologically diverse that trying to reduce it to a single theme is maybe impossible. He suggests we should trace multiple complementary themes instead, and that's a perspective we definitely need to take seriously.
But that search for a center, it absolutely continues. You've got Walter Kaiser Jr., who champions God's promise plan as the thread that ties it all together. Eugene Merrill argues it's all about kingdom and dominion. Christopher Wright sees a missional purpose driving the whole thing. And G.K. Beale points to new creation as the ultimate goal. I mean, each of these offers a really powerful lens for reading Scripture, but what if they're not competing ideas?
Yeah, maybe they're not. What if these incredible insights aren't in competition at all, but are actually complementary? What if they form a single, unbreakable chord?
So let's look at the first strand, promise. This gives us the content of the message. It answers the big question, what has God actually pledged to do to rescue and restore his world? The second strand is kingdom.
This gives us the context of God's power. It asks, how does God go about establishing his sovereign, healing rule over all of creation?
Third, we've got mission. This gives us the extent of the message's reach. And this one answers a crucial question. Who is this good news for? To whom is it directed?
And finally, the fourth strand, new creation. This gives us the ultimate goal of the entire story. It asks the final question, where is all of this headed? Where is this whole story leading?
And this is where it all just clicks into place. These four threads, promise, kingdom, mission, and new creation, they aren't separate strands. They are woven together into a single unbreakable cord that converges in one person, Jesus Christ. He is the fulfillment of the promise. He's the king who brings the kingdom. He's the ultimate missionary, and he is the one who kicks off the new creation through his life, his death, and his resurrection.
So having this fourfold framework gives us a map, a map for the journey ahead, a way to trace this grand story through the entire Bible. So here's our journey ahead. We'll start by exploring the landscape of biblical theology. Then we'll trace these four key themes all the way through the Old Testament, watching how they develop and build anticipation. We will then witness their breathtaking convergence in the person of Jesus Christ. And finally, we'll discover what all this means for the mission of the church in the world today.
And that leaves us with this powerful conclusion. The center of the Bible isn't some abstract concept or just a theological debate. It's a person. It's Jesus Christ and his unfolding plan to redeem and renew his world. And that's a story that changes absolutely everything.